The Box Seat, brought to you by our stable of sponsors: Woodland Stud, Brecon Farms, New Zealand Bloodstock Standardbred, Stonewall Stud, the clubs Alexandra Park, Cambridge, Addington and Ashburton, Garrard's Horse and Hound, and IRT. It's your horse and our passion. Hi everyone, welcome in to another edition of Your Box Seat, brought to you by our stable of sponsors off the back of a great night from Addington Raceway last Friday night. Michael Guerin, a night that was dominated by one lady, arguably as good as we've seen in the bike. Yes, 5 wins for Natalie Rasmussen.
You know, my views on it, Greg, I would say if I had my money on any one horse and I wanted a driver in New Zealand in a big race, it would be very close to be Natalie Rasmussen. Sure, she had some firepower to play with last week, but she was dominant, even potentially more so this, Greg, as a whole bunch of the same horses are set to go to war with different barrier draws this Friday night for the second half of the big doubleheader, and she ends up getting the drive on the best juvenile in the country. Will we still be calling a cue to that after this week's Sires Stakes final? Well,
he's going to have to be very, very good from his barrier, but let's get into last week's 43rd running of the Neville Fillies final. She was a dominant favourite. Once she found the front, that was pretty much the end of the penny section. We'll get Matthew Cross to bring her home. The best filly in the land, her name is Better Twist.
Back to the inside to try and rally, but it's Better Twist at the 100. 2 clear of Off and Gone. The Brecon Beauty gets her 4th Group 1 and powers away. Better Twist won it by 2.5. Off and Gone 2nd. Better Talk Art 3rd, and Braveview Kelly up for 4th.
Special filly.
Look, very, very special filly, particularly from the draw tonight. A little bit of, I had a few nerves about it, and I just wondered if she'd get through. And look, she's just exceptional.
She made her way to the front, and I guess from that point, you and the Perfect 10 syndicate's confidence levels would have just been going high.
Well, I was upstairs with the syndicate, and I must admit we all gave a bit of a clap, and I thought once she got to the front, it should be very hard to pull back.
The Take 10 syndicate, my apologies there.
Yeah, Take 10 syndicate, and great to see we've got a lot of them down here tonight. We've got people who have come down from Wellington and from Auckland, and it just shows you have good horses, and this syndicate, very sport have horses good as this, and some newcomers in that syndicate. But it's just great that they're loving it that much. They're coming down, to Christchurch and things. So it just shows you great having new people in the industry.
You've had some good fillies, but you haven't won this race before. It's one of our iconic 3-year-old filly races.
Oh, look, a very special race. No, we haven't won it. Sires Stakes, Neville do a great job, and look, these are very important later on as brood mares. These are the races you need to win.
The family that just never stops giving.
Are you talking about the Brecon family, or are you talking about the English family? No, it's been an exceptional family. To think, we bought. We raced Give It a Whirl Girl with Rod Croon some years ago, and we sent the mare to Arts Place, and Twist and Twirl. She was a terrific mare, hard as nails. She won a couple of Group 1s, and she's left. There's Better Give It over in Australia. They've done a great job as well. The Fascinator, again, another one out of the family, exceptional mare. She seems to be doing the job breeding. Mac Dan, Better Give It over in Australia. So it is a very, very tough family. And look, I don't know where this mare actually end up. I mean, she looks like she'll go right through to, I hope, the Cup class.
Well, she proved yet again she's right up to this.
Yeah, that's right, Greg. She's she's been very consistent all season. Credit to the team out there. They've had her spot on for the big ones. And, no different again tonight. But it took a good one to beat her, and just wrapped the way she found the line to run a good second.
Also caught up with Regan Todd yesterday about how his filly had got through, and of course she ran 3rd. She's come up with Barrier 1, Better Talk Art this week. Michael Guerin, she's doing a great job, and he said, look, from that draw, worst case 3 back the fence, she's already won a Southland Oaks, so the distance no problem at all, so expect a good run from her. La Rosa made up a lot of ground. Braveview Kelly, the other of the Mark Jones runners, was in 4th position, so there was some good runs in behind, but none more so than the winner. She was just simply too good.
We're seeing, Greg, what we've seen so many times over the last 15 years. The best 3-year-old filly tends, more so than almost any other crop, tends to dominate and totally dominate. Now, we've seen that running through the Venus Serenas and Carabellas and a whole bunch of other horses. It just happens. And Better Twist is that horse. She's better than these horses. Now, she was fallible around about Christmas time, Greg, because I think she was still a bit too weak to try and do what she was doing, which was sitting parked, because she didn't have any gate speed, and outstaying them. But she's got better. Absolutely no doubt she's got better. She's hitting the line harder. I would suggest they're working her harder, because she looks finer. She was given a buzz-up in the prelim last week. Everything points to her just winning again this week. There's a lot of gate speed on the front line, and I think they'll sort themselves out. But with the jewels 2 weeks later, it's really hard to believe anybody's going to park her out and try and get a pre-jewels headache. She's $1.22. Can't take that, but I think she'll roll to the front, Greg, and win. And then it's a question of who's on the marker pegs. You do not want to be backing horses off the marker pegs in this race. But she'll win this week, I'm pretty sure of that. And then, Greg, the question is, what sort of draw does she get for the jewels? That's the race she might be vulnerable in because of the racing style. But at the moment, I think she's actually gone up about, in my mind, a length and a half on her Christmas performances to where she is now.
Okay, so she's $1.22 as we look at the market here. From the inside draw, Better Talk Art, $23. A great top 4 chance, you would think. Darling Me is... I was almost going to make her the bet of the week for a place, Michael. If you go back and have a look at her Neville R run, she exploded off the gate, got the front, ended up, unfortunately, behind Honey Queen, who's not sticking around for the Oaks. She had a whole lot of gunk in her lungs when they scoped her straight after the race. Got pushed back as a result of that and ran to the line strongly. We know she's already Oaks placed. I can see her getting across at the start, Better Talk Art, getting the run behind Better Twist, and then I can't see her missing a top 4, and therefore at $2.20 I'm happy to be on her as a top 3 chance. La Rosa I expect to go forward. She was unlucky. Off and Gone was great last week. So there might be a bit of jostling early on, but if Better Twist finds the front, directly behind her is the place you definitely want to be.
Yep, marker pegs in Oaks races and Derby races for 2 decades have been the place to be. They just go so quick, and if you're covering that extra 2 lengths a lap or even a length and a half per bend, it's really hard to win these races. So I think she'll win Better Twist. I agree with your thoughts around Darling Me and Better Talk Art. They can park away on the marker picks. I'm not convinced that's going to be the way it ends up at the start. I just don't know, because it depends on the tactics of other drivers. But yeah, but Better Twist had a really long conversation with Kim Brecken, who you spoke to there, about her future. And that would seem to be in Australia in the second half of this year, because she'll still be 3 there. We've mentioned a lot. She'll be 4 here. There's nothing for a 4-year-old mare outside the Queen of Hearts, which she doesn't need to be rushing into yet. So I think she'll head to Australia, exploit that rule. She'll be 3 for 17 months, and she can race in the Breeders' Crown and the Victoria Oaks. It's not just a case that she'll turn up and win those races, Greg. There's some pretty good 3-year-old fillies in Australia. Antonia, who won the New South Wales Oaks, is pretty good, and it's a different type of racing. So when she gets there, which is 6 months away, she's going to need to develop some gate speed, Greg, but she'll be the first and most obvious horse to take that loophole. Shortly we'll look at the 2-year-olds, who will become 3 on August 1st. I think some of them will do the same thing, Greg. I think some of them will think, hey, why would I want to race as a 3-year-old when I can race in the Breeders' Crown as a 2-year-old? Ironically, you can do both.
Yeah, let's go to that New Zealand bloodstock harness million for the 2-year-olds. Colts and Geldings, 30th running of this event, 3rd time New Zealand bloodstock have been in behind it. Matthew Cross to bring them home, and then the co-owner of Akuta will talk to us about his performance.
Second, then came Major Perry, but it's all Akuta and Blair Orange clear in the harness million final. Akuta too good for Cosmic Major. Major Perry ran 3rd. Photos 4th, either can't find a better man or will obey.
Congratulations, Mark. That'll be a bit of a buzz.
It was a real buzz, Greg, and to watch it, and Blair handled him super, and the way he won really impressed me.
Look, he did some work too early and then popped out and around Franco Mac. Obviously, Blair had the confidence that he was able to do that.
Yes, yeah. Well, it's always a bit of a worry when you're watching and you're thinking, gee, I wonder if he can do this. But, he did win good on the night, and, it was a great result.
Mark, you've always liked him. Bit of a gear change tonight, the blinds on just to sharpen him up that wee bit.
Yes, well, I drove him in the Welcome Stakes, and I just felt if he had them on, he probably would have won. But yeah, so tonight, you know, he was too laid back in the welcome stakes, but tonight he looked more of a racehorse.
Of course, he had the Ian Dobson colours on. You bought this guy at the sales off the Renwicks, and you decided to ask Ian to come into him. Nice to race a horse with him.
It is nice. He'd given me the opportunity to come in on a couple of others that I hadn't been as keen on as he was, but in this case I picked him out and Ian came on board, so and we're going to have a lot of fun with him.
By Bettor's Delight out of a Christian Cullen mare. Well, we know what that cross has been able to do.
Yes, well, I thought tonight we've won this race with a few times, and a number of them have been by Christian Cullen, so I think that was a persuading factor when I quoted him to Ian.
Excellent performance from him.
Yeah, wrapped, Greg. Obviously, you know, the draw, we ended up getting not a bad trip, but like you say, just those ones that settled in front of us, you know, full credit to the winner. He was too good on the night, but, you know, really pleased with the way he found the line, and, you know, he mustered up the rest of them pretty comfortably around the bend, so, you know, really looking forward to next week.
You'd be pleased with that.
Yeah, no, look, he had a good run and he finished it off well.
Pretty nice sort of a horse, and look, you hadn't had a run for a wee while.
No, he hasn't had a run for probably a month now, and he had a trial a couple of weeks ago, but you know, there's nothing like good hard racing for them. So the winner was great, the second one was great, so hopefully we improve from it.
Man, they were flying out there.
Yeah, it felt like 150. I reckon Mick will probably run a bit quicker though.
He's a pretty nice horse, this big fella.
Yeah, that's right, Greg. He gave me a real good feel, and he's probably got 3-year-old written all over him. He's a big, strong boy, and you know, he's got a bit of maturing to do. But you know, he went real good tonight, and yeah, it was good to get another drive for Hayden.
Scott Phelan, he's a bit of humour, isn't he, Michael? $170,000 they paid for a Couta out of the Paul and Pauline Renwick draft, and he was simply too good. He moved with a lap to go. I was actually lucky enough to watch the race with Mark Purden, a unique situation because obviously he's normally out on the track, and he looked at me as Blair popped out from the trail around there with a lap to go, and he was like, ooh, he's moving again, mate. But obviously he felt that he needed to do that and outstay them, and that's exactly what he did.
Did he give it the fist pump, Marky? Did he?
Well, I reckon about 50 metres off the post, he leaned across and put out his hand to congratulate himself, I suppose, in many ways. But yeah, when you're sitting on the sideline like he is, and he was out for a week, and in fact he's back this week, Mark, but he's not driving. Yeah, it was a pretty cool moment. I can promise you that.
No yelling. Was he?
No.
No racebook tapping.
And I actually said to him, "What sort of watcher are you?" And he said, "Oh, I handled that one quite nicely." Well, you would have, Mark. It was 100,000 just dropped in, so it was pretty straightforward. But
I suppose it's not his first rodeo, Greg.
No, exactly. It was unique for me, probably not so much for him. But yeah, he was too good. I thought Cosmic Major outstanding. We'll have a look at the market shortly for the Sire Stakes, and there's already been a $500 bet on him at $2.20. Of the others, gee, it's hard to imagine that one of those is going to be able to peg back those two anyway.
Well, Major Perry finished third, and if Scott Phelan thinks I'm as fast as Major Perry, he's in a world of pain this week. Major Perry. Yeah, agreed. The top two picked themselves, and now obviously you're reversing the barrier draws, and you're thinking Cosmic Major is the horse to beat. I'm not sure it's a case of him just running to the front here. Just talking about Scott Phelan and the Barry Purden team, they have Montana DJ, who's drawn better this week. Not better than last week, but better compared with his key rivals. And I think he's a chance of heading forward, Greg, and I'm not sure he would hand the lead to anybody. He's a big, strong son of Captain Treacherous, so he might stay there. Now, that would make things more difficult. I'm not saying he's going to win, but I think it's... I don't want to back a Couta at $2.10. That's too short. He will drift. There's nothing surer he will drift. Natalie Rasmussen jumps on him, so Blair Orange off, Natalie on. Some people would say, why would you take a winning driver off? For the money. It's business. Bottom line is, Blair's a big boy. That's how it works sometimes. So sometimes when you're not involved with the horses, you might think, well, I'd do this or I'd do that, but it comes down to money.
I also understand she'll stay on for the jewels.
Exactly, and that's where this is all aiming at. So I can't back him from the second line, even though he might win. And Cosmic Major's too close.
20, yeah, 220.
220. It's too tight. So I'm looking for things I want to back for a place in this race. I think there's plenty of value there because they monopolise the market so much. And I think Montana DJ, don't forget there's a top 4 option now.
Yep.
Now he's about $3.70 a place. Top 4 will be about $3.10 or $3.
Yep.
So I like him, Greg. I think he's a really good chance in the race, finding the marker pegs in a race where they'll go quick. Akuta, I think, is the best of this bunch, but he's not so dominant that I think he'll just come from the second line and win these type of races. Awfully hard, Greg, to win the Sales Series and the Sire Stakes in the same week. Lazarus couldn't do it.
No, it's only happened 6 times, Michael. So one change was the most recent, but it's not an easy thing to do at all, particularly when they win a 55-mile rate. And it was a hard run for some of those horses, Montana DJ being one of those. What's
hard for some of those horses is they're now going to race this week and then get on the bus up to Auckland. So there's no plane.
No.
Now, Standardbred's cop it better than the Gallopers, but it's still it's a long month for these babies. A lot of them going down, race twice, go back, racing the jewels. So there'll be a lot of people looking for good barrier draws. That's what I've done this week for the punt. Montana DJ top 4 is my bet in the races. These 2-year-olds are starting to sort themselves out.
Yeah, I think Cosmic Major's my win bet in the race. I reckon Tim Williams will go forward, and if he does and gets the lead, gee, he'll take some beating.
I've got a question for you, Greg.
Yep.
Akuta races in the Ian Dobson colours.
Yes.
He's now probably, that doesn't count towards the stake earnings for the jewels because it's a Sales Series race.
Yep.
If you had a horse racing and you're in Karen's colours,
yep,
and it was the top ranker for the jewels, would you want to race in the jewels colours or your own colours?
Well, we haven't had too many Group 1 starters, Michael, and I would love Karen to have a set of colours line up in a race, you know, of that stature. So I understand the concept with the harness jewels, and I know that in the past, and Crandall Getty's done it, he did it with Krug, he said, look, I don't want to start within those colours tonight. I think Lockerburn went through the same thing when he won the Derby. Like, it's really important for some connections that their colours go round in those most important races. But I also understand Harness Racing New Zealand's policy and the way, you know, what they want to do. It was always about the Tour leader's jacket and all that sort of thing related to the Tour de France. So I get that as well, but no, I'd be pretty keen to stay in our colours if we're ever lucky enough to get in that situation.
Yeah, I think the jewels colours work. I love the concept.
Yep.
I think they're great. But I also think it's different, for example, taking Hayden Cullen's colours off or taking Ray Green's colours off for
Yep.
copy that. Trainers' colours are trainers' colours. The owners probably don't feel an emotional connection to those.
Yep.
But in Ian Dobson's case, probably different. So if you had owners' colours on, I could see the argument for wanting to keep your own colours because you don't win that many Group 1 races in your owners' colours. So
Yeah.
that was something I looked at the other day because I looked at Ian Dobson's colours and I thought, what would I want to do?
Yeah. So what would you do?
If they were my personal colours,
Yeah.
I'd be happy to keep them. If they were trainers' colours and the horses racing in trainers' colours, I'd say no issue. That's what I would do. And to be honest, most harness horses tend to race in the trainers' colours.
Yeah, they do. All right, let's move on from that and go to the Harness Million for the trotters this time. The 2-year-old, 75,000 was on the line. And speaking of those colours, they are in front and dominating once again. His name is High Grove. We'll hear from his driver, John Dunn, post-race.
Hero Blaze and Wi-Fi, it's High Grove. They're all fighting out for the minors. The NZB Standardbred, Harness Million for the 2-year-olds to High Grove. He's just too big and he's too strong. Beat home Wi-Fi. Third in, Hero Blaze from Toro Stride.
Slightly scary moment before you got him behind the gate.
Yeah, a wee bit scary, but every time he does that, he sort of comes back trotting pretty quick. So as long as we keep it that way, we'll be happy.
Johnny's rolled to the front. He's done it all under his own steam again. He's won pretty comfortably. Gee, there's some good signs going forward, not only to the jewels, but further afield. Yeah,
definitely. The ability's there, and sort of Gate's got to get a wee bit stronger. Like he's not the nicest going trotter when he's going, but he does it so easy. So, like I say, there's good signs going forward.
And it is great for your relationship with the Newmans, who have been buying horses at the yearling sales for a very long time and are great supporters of your dad and you.
Yeah, hit the nail right on the head there, Greg. Unbelievable for the Newmans, massive supporters of us, and yeah, without them, and if a couple other big owners would be buggered. So they deserve everything they get.
And John, I think you paid just over 30, maybe 35 for this horse, so he's looking like a cheap buy.
Yeah, it is a cheap buy, but yeah, we've had a few dear buys in the past, so it's good to get one back.
Yeah, there's certainly John Dunn there reflecting on maybe some of the others that haven't done the business. At 34,000, I think it was, Michael, for him. There's always that little bit of vulnerability, and you saw him shaking his head there. And a lot of horses wouldn't just come back down trotting, but he's done it a couple of times now. He wouldn't want to do it in the harness duels, mind you.
No, he wouldn't. He's a pretty exciting horse because he's winning these races very easily. Like, he's far more dominant over this 2-year-old crop than Five Wise Men is over the 3-year-old crop. And yet Five Wise Men has that superstar feeling about him. And Highgrove are all sort of going, what does it all mean? Because we don't know the rivals very well. He's not bred to be a 2-year-old. He's by Love View, and traditionally they haven't been great 2-year-olds. Obviously, Mombay was a pretty good 2-year-old. But gee, he's got a lot of scope, Greg. He's a big, strong horse. It's hard to imagine he's not going to be a real force for the next couple of years. I read an interesting article by Johnny Turner that this horse was actually bred, or the mare is Kevin Townley's mare. Of course, Kevin got banged up in an accident recently at the races. So, Kevin, congratulations. It's nice to know the breed's continuing, and we hope you're starting to feel better. But impossible, Greg, to make any case for him to be beaten by any of his rivals anytime soon, unless he has one of those gallops, and that's a pretty hard thing to predict.
Yeah, and I spoke to, speaking of galloping, Phil Williamson about Toro Stride. He said it's really got him perplexed at the moment because he just trots at home, no problem at all. He's never done it at the trials, but he certainly needs to get that sorted and needs to get it sorted really quickly. As we continue on with our look back at Addington Raceway, the aged trot with Lone Star was an excellent field, and in front was Midnight Dash, and Michael Guerin will talk over this one. A beautiful piece of driving here by Ben Hope. Took the initiative, rolled round to the front. I thought Oscar Bonavina, a much better performance from him. Chinese Whisper was good. Majestic Lavros just in behind them there. He never really got himself into the race. Found the line quite nicely though, and I think he'll be in a far more prominent position come this week's race.
Yeah, lovely drive by Ben. So the whole field went to single file apart from Ben driving Midnight Dash, and he got stuck there. Here's an interesting way of viewing racing. He said, well, the horse needed an easy run, so I went forward and got the lead, and then he got to the middle half in 65 seconds, reckoning that once he was in front in a field full of sprinters, he wasn't going to get attacked. Well, that's exactly what happened. It's so often, Greg, we hear when a horse needs a soft run, I'll go back at the start, let them run up the straight, punters get shafted. Well, he took a different attitude. He said, well, I'm going to go forward. No one's going to attack me. I'll have an easy run because he's a little bit fresh. I think there's a little bit to be learned out of that. He's only a young man, and he saw that. Not every race is going to pan out that way. You can't go forward in every horse. I'm not being an idiot about it. But often, when a good horse lobs the front, Greg, that's the easiest run they'll get.
Yeah.
No one attacked. He's a good horse, Midnight Dash. I think he'll win one of the big races somewhere in the next 2 or 3 years because he just turns up every week and trots really well. What's going to be tougher for him this week is Muscle Mountain comes back into the race. So Ben will be on Muscle Mountain. Tim Williams will take the drive on Midnight Dash up against Oscar Bonavina. And most of those horses again, Greg. Yeah, that's going to be a really good race. Interesting note out of that race too. Gold Chain was excellent in behind considering she was stepping into the big time. She drops enormously back in class into an intermediate grade race this week. And she's the horse to follow because all these big boppers race each other. She drops back about 10 lengths in class to a different race.
Yeah, she does. Let's have a look at the market for this week's race. And Oscar Bonavina, $3.40 is the current second favourite. $2 Muscle Mountain. He wasn't going to have this race and they were just going to go straight into a harness duels trial, but he's that well. I've decided to go here. I don't know about $2 though, Michael. I don't think he just lines up and wins here. Chinese Whisper's a handy horse. You've already mentioned Midnight Dash. And the one I'm most interested in is Majestic Lavros because I think they'll be far more positive this week. He's around $7.50.
I feel sorry for Majestic Lavros. The worst thing ever happened to him was winning the South Bay Trotters Cup. At one stage, he was favourite for the Dominion.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
Yep.
And that overflows into the next part of their career. So had he not won that race, people would say, oh, he's going to make a lovely progressive open class horse. He wasn't be favourite for the Dominion. And we're expecting him to do favourite for the Dominion type things. He's not in the top 10 trotters in the country, and he keeps getting priced like he is. So don't back him. You know, just wait. You don't need to be rushing in to back him against horses who have won Group 1s.
What about Oscar? Where do you see him?
I think he's improving. I think he's getting closer to the mark. Oscar's the same type of horse. Oscar's never won a big race. And I did it too. We all did it. So we're in together. We all rated him the best trotter in the country, but he hasn't shown the toughness to live up to that yet. I think this week suits. I think Muscle Mountain's massive unders for a horse heading to the Jewels. If he runs to the front, he'll probably win, but I don't think it's going to be quite that easy. So I'm happy to be on Oscar as much as you're ever happy to be on a horse drawn wide. What about the ratings, Greg? Oscar Bonavina has never won a major race.
Yep.
He's won some decent second-grade races. Yep. And Muscle Mountain's won a Group 1, and they've won comparable amounts of races. Muscle Mountain's won 10 or 16, I think. Oscar's 12 or 20-something. And
he's
Oscar's,
higher rated.
Oscar's about 18 points higher.
Yeah, he is. He's unreal, isn't it?
It's I know there'll be a reason for that, but when you look at it, you're like, how does that work?
Well, he's won 12. Yeah, like you say, yeah, it doesn't really pan out, does it?
Well, put it this way:
12 versus 10.
One's won a Group 1 race last start, beating Sunday Sun, and the other one's never won a Group 1 race.
No. I might look into that, Michael. You've intrigued me there.
Can you go do that, Greg?
Can
you do it now?
Right now? No, not just right now, because that'd leave you on your show, on this show.
I think it'd be a better show.
Look, no doubt it would be. Moving along from that, I did speak to Martin Pearson about the uncut gems. Don't forget about those. They are for horses 4-year-old and older who don't finish first, second or third at the Harness Jewels. They're on the 18th of June at Alexandra Park. They're for good stakes. You can't have won a Group 1 or a race over, I think, about 55,000. So check out HRNZ for all the details on those. But there's, some pretty good money up on offer for those who don't place at the Harness Jewels. One that might place at the Harness Jewels was the modicum of enormous support. His name was South Coast Arden. He was in the Brent Mangos colours, but of course was steered by Natalie Rasmussen. 220.9 home and 54.6. He was very, very good, as was Chase Auckland. We'll hear from his trainer, Brent Mangos, post-race.
But it is South Coast Arden absolutely tore them apart down the back, and South Coast Arden too good. Nice racetrack return, Chase Auckland second, Labour third.
We thought he had that ability. You've always known it.
Yeah, for sure, Greg. You know, he had a little bit of setback early this year. Look, he's just starting to come right now, and a trip down here was the reason why, to get a bit of racing to him, and especially left-handed going. He hasn't had any of that at all, so that's the main reason why he came down.
Long-term goal, clearly, November?
Oh, yes, for sure. Like the trip away, he's never, actually, as I say, he's only raced at Auckland, so this will really set him in a good stead for something like the November meeting if he's happened to be good enough to make it. So all in all, he's ticking in the right boxes.
Yeah, and this sort of harden up racing too. Of course, he's got next week and then into the Harness Jewels, and I understand Natalie Rasmussen will retain the drive.
Yes, Natalie's going to drive him. I've got suspended for 3 or 4 weeks, so that's the reason why Natalie drove him tonight, just to get a feel of him. He's not the easiest horse to drive, so look, she came off and she was really happy, so that was good enough for me.
Brent, great to see his early speed, especially with a lean towards Cambridge. Now all you need's a barrier.
Yeah, well, it's like everyone in the same boat. You good draw, got a good horse, you're going to be hard to roll. So, yeah, let's just hope he draws good.
7 from 19 now, Michael. He's an exciting horse and he completely dominated from the top end. I've got to touch on Chase Auckland though. Wonderful racetrack return for him. Did see him in the stable area after. He didn't appear to be comfortable at all. Spoke to Hayden Cullen yesterday. They're continuing with tests. They think it's an injury separate from the one that sidelined him originally, and I fear that we may not see Chase again, and he's won over 800,000. He's provided a whole lot of people with so many great memories, including Sire Stakes and obviously the New Zealand Free-for-All as well, but amongst a heap of other races that he's been involved in. But yeah, he just tries so hard that, you know, the pain barrier he must have to go through every time he goes to the races is remarkable.
Yeah, he's been sent for scintigraphy, so there's obviously a niggle somewhere they can't find. It's not an obvious bone issue, but there sounds like there'll be something somewhere. It's tough. When horses at this level get those issues, you're going to work them so hard to get them to the races, then they're going to race so hard. It's not like a galloper where you can sprint them up a couple of times, 600 metres, and off they go to the races. So, yeah, I agree with you. Maybe we won't see the best of him, but he's done plenty in his career already. The winner is a good horse. He ran 5th in the Messenger, actually charged home late. And his pre-Christmas form was excellent at the top level, and clearly he's a better horse now. I think he'll win the Winter Cup this week, Greg. He's off 10 metres, but it's largely irrelevant.
He's $1.35, Michael. That's slightly different to the $4.40 offered last week.
Not often we see one of those, $4.40 to $1.60. We are seeing a lot of dramatic moves in harness racing in the markets, but that's big.
Yep.
But we flagged it last week on the show.
Yeah.
Chase Auckland was going to be in a world of pain from back there. Interesting move by Mango. Mango's a hard man, and the fact that he said, I want Natalie to drive this horse in the Jewels, sort of backs up what we said earlier. You know, she's a great big race, big money driver. She'll suit this horse in the Jewels. I'm not sure he can beat Copy That, but if he gets inside him, I'm picking him up, you're handing up, Greg.
All right, so $1.80, he's got the slight drift, Copy That. And then you've got the three horses at $5. Looking at that market now for you, Pembroke Playboy. Very much in the same category as South Coast Arden. And Bad to the Bone for that matter, that if they draw inside Copy That, there is potential there definitely for an upset, Michael.
Well, Copy That draws 1 to 3
Yep.
with inferior rivals inside him. He goes around $1.30.
Yep.
$1.25 maybe even the Jewels.
Yep.
He draws outside one of these horses that change. He draws outside all three of them. Whole different ball game.
Yep.
It's what we call technically a no betting market, Gregory, because you've got no idea where they're going to draw.
Yep.
So stay out of it. You don't need to be punting into that sort of stuff. You're basically betting on lotto, just numbers coming out of a barrel, because that's exactly what it is with barrier draws. So I'd stay out of that. Copy That, of course, races this week against Amazing Dream at Alexandra Park. I'm glad that race got off the ground.
Yep.
I'm worried about the fact that almost didn't get off the ground. And I think as an industry, we need to get over this thing that there's only 5 runners, so we're not going to hold these races. The difference between 5 and 6 is irrelevant. The difference between 4 and 5 is enormous, because this is 4 horses in a race, Greg, there's no place pool. There's 5 horses in a race, there's still 2 place dividends. It's exactly the same for 6 horses.
Yeah.
When we are putting on a Jewels and we are asking people to go to the yearling sales and spend their money and then asking them to hang around for the Jewels, we can't cancel lead-up races. I don't care if it costs us 10 grand as an industry.
Yep.
You can't say to someone, Ray Green, hey, bring Copy That. Like, that's ridiculous. We need lead-up races, and if you can't have lead-up races, you're not supporting your own concept, which is the Jewels. So I was flabbergasted to hear this week that race was almost cancelled. I'm glad it was saved. But these days of us asking trainers to pit horses in races to get them off the ground, when the best horses, Copy That versus the Auckland Cup winner, and we almost didn't hold it. We've got to get away from this mindset. Not every race needs to be a profit-making thing for the industry, because otherwise there'd be plenty of races we wouldn't hold any 2-year-old trots.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Good point.
I was disappointed to hear that, and I think it's something at the highest level we need to make happen more often. Otherwise, we're not supporting our own race day, and then we can't sit down and complain when Merv Butterworth says, hey, Copy That, you're
Go to
out of here.
Australia.
No Jewels for you, I'm off to Aussie, because that's what's going to happen unless we give these horses their opportunities.
Yep, hard to argue with there. IRT Harness Jewels news. There's been a few withdrawals, but Watch Me Now out of the 4-year-old Diamond, probably the most significant of those. Want to have a look at one of the other features this Friday night at Addington Raceway, and Leaf Stride finishing second at Alexandra Park. Of course, this is in behind 5 Wise Men. Spoke to Phil Williamson about him. He's come up $3, Michael. We'll have a look at that market in a moment. He would only need to replicate this performance. He's getting through on the inside there on that night that was pretty ordinary weather-wise. He's got really good early speed, Leaf Stride. I'm liking the $3. He's up against Regal Attire at $4.20. Same price for Son of Patrick. And then you've got Out of My Way also at $4.20. So, yeah, he needs to do things right, Leaf Stride. But Phil said to me this week his work's been excellent and he expects him to be extremely hard to beat.
I think the start's crucial, Greg. He races across them at the start and runs to the lead. Yep, he's the horse to beat. He hasn't won a lot of races, though. Admittedly, he's been up against 5 Wise Men a lot, and he's been good behind him, and this is a non-5 Wise Men race, but I do get worried about backing horses at $3 who don't win a lot of races. There's reasons for that. I'm not saying he won't win. It's a slightly tricky race. Out of My Way is interesting. Didn't race last week, actually had a race. It was called a non-race because he was deemed a late scratching because of an incident at the start. Doesn't seem to be trotting absolutely perfectly, but he could win with the best version of him, Greg. Confusing little race
It is.
for mine. I think the horse most likely to turn up and do everything right and run you a good race is Son of Patrick.
Yeah, he will definitely. He's very consistent, and he would be well rewarded if he was able to take this out. A couple of other races from Addington last Friday night. Regal Attire running a sensational time, actually, 3:18.7, I think it was. Only about half a second outside Oscar Bonavina's 3-year-old record. Loving the Port, charged to the line, just had a gallop right on the post, but that was something like the best of these. And how often do we see these, Michael, where these 3-year-olds dominate when they're back in class?
Yep, take a horse out of the Oaks or the Derby, pacing or trotting, put them back in the classes, Greg, and they win more often than they don't this time of year. It's the absolute key betting bit of information you can give people. Back 3-year-olds coming out of those races. Here's another one. Here's Shad Noble beating Pace and Pride in a very strong intermediate race. And again, 2 horses coming out of the Derby. Pace and Pride had a run since. He's a good horse, Greg, Shad Noble. I think he's an open class horse, and he's a horse who can go close to testing Krug in the Jewels with a good barrier draw. Maybe just needs a bit more gate speed, but if anybody can find it, it'll probably be Natalie.
Garrard Sires Stakes sophomore this week. Let's have a look at the market for that. Pace and Pride's come up, flip of the coin here, Michael, at $2. $2.80 about Sam Hara. I think Pace and Pride's better than Sam Hara at this stage of their career. He's won 3 of his last 4, Sam Hara, mind you, if he goes forward. The one that does interest me a fair bit is Coravalley Star. He charged to the line in that Sam Hara race. Worth going back and having a look at that on HRNZ. What about for you? Are you with Pace and Pride this week?
At $2 I am. I thought they'd bring him up $1.70, so $2 is good. Coravalley Star's a pretty good horse.
Yeah.
It's not a pushover race. It's not just a case of him running to the front, Pace and Pride, but I do think he'll be the one to beat, and even money is very fair for him. He won't start even money. That won't be around by the time the race starts on Friday night.
No, it certainly will not. We'll take a short break here on Your Box Seat. When we come back, review a couple out of Alexandra Park. We'll have a look at that, copy that versus Amazing Dream race as well. Plenty of information still to come your way on Your Box Seat. Welcome back into Your Box Seat with our stable of sponsors. Let's go to Alexandra Park, feature racing there last Thursday night, and most expected. The hot favourite to deliver in this one, True Fantasy. She had a hard run, having to come round and sit parked in those famous colours, the butt colours, the RD butt colours, getting through on the inside for Bob Butt, and it was Cover Girl getting the business done in the New Zealand Bloodstock Standardbred Harness Million 2-year-old final. We'll hear from Bob post-race.
And Cover Girl, I'd say. Cover Girl just over True Fantasy, Dance Till Dawn.
That'd be a big buzz, I reckon.
Oh, yeah, great buzz, mate. Yeah, of course.
You've had good success this season. Obviously, Heavyweight Hero winning the Group 1 out here, but this filly you've made, is that more satisfying?
Oh, yes and no. Like, she's just been easy to train and lucky she's good, you know, but old Heavyweight's had his problems and that you have to dish through, so they're both great, yeah.
Bob, what's the difference between the first up run we saw from her, which was very good, and that run last night? Was it more about the run you got?
Oh, 100% run she got, and she settled well. Actually, last 2 runs she pulled quite hard, so I slaughtered her in the Caduceus Club when I led up, but had to have a go, and the next week she just pulled too hard early, and it just... I actually wasn't disappointed in her at all, even though she finished out the back. I thought she went as good as she probably could under the circumstances. So, and then just last night everything worked out perfect.
Bob, you've decided to pull the pin on the harness jewels. Just a bridge too far at this stage?
Yeah, like she's still quite weak in that, and she's got to grow up a bit. So, and she's done a great job. So, yeah, I think we'll get another month in the paddock on the other ones, and hopefully she can strengthen up and be a nice Oaks filly next year, hopefully.
So this is the Sandy Yardley breed that's left the likes of Laura Owler, the Muskie Express. Some big name owners in this one too, Michael, and staying in the ownership are Sandy and Jan Yardley and their Hardwood Breeding Limited. But 95,000, she's 195, they've put her aside. There's a lot to look forward to with her.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are really thrilled for Bob. He's a very popular guy in the industry, and it's one thing to win a Group 1 race with an older trotter, but those horses maybe are harder to come by. Those young horses, someone sees you train a young horse well, they say, okay, I might give you a horse from the sales. I think there's more flow on from those horses because it opens more doorways. The draw helped, obviously, got the right type of run. Brendan McCullum's actually in this horse. I spoke to Brendan about it recently. He's obviously been in India for the IPL, and he said he got a share in the horse. He's been following it. He asked for Bob's number so he could text Bob. So still pretty engaged. True racing man is Brendan McCullum. He's involved in this horse. Horse actually bought by Matt Anderson. Now Matt's had his troubles. He's a good young fella, Matt, and I hope he comes back out of these, and I hope he gets back into the industry. I'm by no means diminishing the troubles he's had, but I hope he gets back into the industry because he took some brave steps by purchasing a horse like this. So yeah, I'm hoping that eventually that story ends well. For now, for Bob, caps a remarkable season for a guy who probably doesn't have that many high-price horses, apart from this one, Greg, in the team.
No, let's go to the Hara de Trotteurs. This is the Trotting Oaks in the north, and it was the turn of Time Up the Hill. Placed in both derbies, of course. In front here, Mexicana, her biggest rival for this race, both on the track and on the tote. Got pretty close, but the best bet of the week got home, Michael, in the hands of Ken Barron, and this is a real reward for her. She thoroughly deserved that. Michael Ward's done a great job with her, and she got the business done here. And I think she's still got a part to play in the Jewels, that's for sure.
Well, she does because she's got gate speed, Greg. So once she led here, she was always going to win. Mexicana was actually really good, considering Josh had to be a bit more conservative early because the horse inside him, who actually won the race, went out of the gate, and therefore he lost tactical advantage. Good on Michael Ward. It's hard when you're from a smaller stable to come park yourself in the North Island and stay there and spend all that time training just the one horse. So it's been looked after this week by the McGowans, but yeah, nice filly. He's taken the bull by the horns, Michael Ward. He's not shied away from the boys, he's not shied away from the derbies. Again, I think the fact that he won the race last weekend and Bob Butt won a big race last week, I think people like seeing different people win these races, Greg, so I'm really happy for him. Yeah, win number 4 and 75,000 in the bank, and still plenty to come from her. Let's have a look at that market just for the 3-year-old Ruby. Five Wise Man's $1.50, Leaf Stride $7.50, Time Up the Hill currently ranked second in that category, also $7.50, and then you get out to Out of My Way at $11. So let's go to Thursday night, Waikato Bay of Plenty Harness, and Michael, one you're keen on KAN GO. I've gone back a few starts here to remind people of just how good KAN GO can be. This is at Alexandra Park. The horses around KAN GO on this occasion, the likes of Copy That, Christians Have Time, show you how good this horse can be, and if he bounces back, Michael, he should just about be winning. Yeah, this is a few starts ago. Since then, of course, he's raced in the Taylor Mile and the Messenger. He was okay in both. I had a good chat to Anna Donnelly about him, his trainer, and she said, we thought he was just maybe a little bit below his best during those two races. His coat got a bit dull, and obviously the races he couldn't win because Copy That just led him blasted home in 54s and change. She said the horse has turned around this week. The coat's better, sharper horse. You would think he can probably lead from barrier 7, but it's 2,700 metres, so even if he can't, he's the horse to beat. If we're talking horses coming out of derbies are hard to beat in these races, what about coming out of the Messenger? That's a whole different kettle of fish. It's basically an open class race. You think where he ended up in the Messenger, South Coast Arden wasn't too far in front of him, and South Coast Arden would be unbackable of this. Just on Anna, sad news for the team this week. They had a really nice horse called Aruba, the son of Sweet Lou, raced at Alexandra Park last week, ran third. Had a mystery injury, for some reason fractured a fetlock. They can't work out whether it was during the race or after the race. It showed no signs immediately after the race. Operated on Saturday, got an infection, and sadly put down on Monday. So to Anna and the team and the owners of Orua, we're sorry to hear that. It's always tough to lose a horse. We hope there's a reason to smile for you guys at Cambridge on Thursday.
Yeah, let's hope so, and our thoughts are certainly with them. You talked about the Messenger and quality performers. Well, Copy That and Amazing Dream do go head-to-head at Alexandra Park on Friday night. That was race 7, by the way, that you can follow KAN GO in. But Copy That, here he is, just doing what Copy That does. A dominant performance once again. He's looking for, I think it's about 6 in a row, Michael, and he is in that 2200 metre Lincoln Farms race against Amazing Dream. Christian's have times there, American Dealers there, Tommy Lincoln, Steal the Show, the half a dozen that go head to head. It's a pretty good contest, and he's drawn out wide.
It's a hell of a good contest. There's 3 open class horses and American Dealer, who's a top class 3-year-old. The big question of the race is this: do they go forward and Copy That and attempt to lead? Now, one would suggest they probably do, because Amazing Dream and Christians Have Time aren't blazing gate speed horses. So you'd think the front's there, but heading towards the jewels, wouldn't it be nice to think, okay, I need an insurance policy here. Let's go back at the start and see how he sprints up the straight coming out of the 1-1 or 3 back on the outside. Not saying that'll happen, but it's a massive difference for punters. He runs to the front, you're on $1.30, you just sit there and laugh. He doesn't run to the front, you're on $1.30, whole different kettle of fish. Yep. I think they probably will. But, gee, it'd be tempting, Greg. It'd be tempting to add another string to your bow, like the old stablemate Sir Lincoln did, heading into the jewels, just in case you have to come from off the speed, because he hasn't done a lot of that in his career.
Yeah, good trotting race as well. The likes of Temporale off the back mark. What's he off? 30 metres. Yeah, that won't be easy over the 2200.
I like one of that race, Greg.
Invictus?
Invictus.
I thought you might say that.
How did you know that?
Well, I reckon if it jumped to the front and run really good sectionals, gee, it'll be hard to catch.
Well, see, there's no point me being on the show if I'm going to say things.
Well, I did say before. I know it was you who said it would be a better show if it was just you.
That's really disappointing.
Yeah. All right, let's move on from that. Hey, there's a few things in and around the IRT Harness Jewels that we'd like to remind you of. Don't forget about their Golf Day, which is on Friday the 4th of June. I understand they've definitely still got some spots there. Wind it back to the previous Saturday, of course, the workouts start about 10 a.m. And speaking of Michael Guerin, in the Skyline Lounge on Saturday evening, you'll be hosting the traditional Jewels function where, of course, the colours are handed over. Yeah,
the problem with that is if you're watching this show on television, you can mute me. But if you go to the Sky Lounge, unless you bring noise-cancelling headphones, you have to listen to me talk. Gordon Titchens is going to be one of our guests for that show, which is going to be fun. We've got to talk to a couple of people. It's not going to be one of those functions where everybody just talks up on stage for ages. We're going to give out the colours. Tess Fay will give out the colours, which is great because she's obviously the rep for IRT. And we're going to have a drink and have some fun. That'll be leading into the Sunday, of course. Just if you're in Auckland and you want to go to the Jewels, but you don't want to take your car, or you feel like having a couple of beers when you're there, Alexandra Park and the ATC have a bus leaving at 8:30 in the morning. So 8:30 in the morning from Alexandra Park, bus goes to the Jewels, stops off at the BP at Pookie on the way through at the Bombay, and you can get on the bus there and then comes back after the races, Greg. So nice option for people who want to chat about harness racing, don't want to take their own car. Alexandra Park have more details on their website, or rock up there at 8:28 on the Sunday morning.
BP, maybe we should get them as one of the sponsors. I thought you were going to say and stop there and get some sustenance and that to get you through the day, but yeah, anyway. All right,
Greg,
get on that bus.
I think I'll already be at the Jewels, Greg. I won't be on
I wasn't talking about just you, the people that are on the bus, Michael. The show isn't just all about you, remember.
Can we move on, Greg?
Yeah, let's move on. Take a quick break. When we come back, we'll catch up with one of Canterbury's favourite sons, multiple Group 1 winning driver, Anthony Butt. In the home straight in your box C, got an opportunity last week to catch up with Anthony Butt. Yes, he was in town with his partner Sonia Smith, so we had a chat about all things harness racing and how successful they've been in the last 12 months. And so just wanted to reintroduce you to an old friend of yours.
Yep, had a bit like Greg, and had home for 12 months here one time when facing Red 1 because they couldn't take it back to Aussie, so yeah, it's a pretty special race and cup.
Great to have you back here at Addington Raceway, not for racing, back for family, eh?
Yeah, just come back for the week to see the kids and granddaughter, and been hard to get across, obviously with COVID, so you know, we're just quieting down a little bit now. The big races finished for a little bit, so it was a good chance to get across.
Let's talk about the success you and Sonia have been having, probably beyond both of your expectations on picking.
Yeah, that's right. I've never really trained before, you know, and it was a bit of a new experience for us, and especially training a big team, but it's gone really well, and you know, got some great horses for Emilio, and you know, everything's, you know, beautifully bred, and we've just had to sort of put the finishing touches on them, so it's been fantastic.
Let's talk about one of your stable stars, Wolf Stride. Geez, come a long way in a very short time, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has, Greg. Yeah, he's always showed a bit of ability as a young horse, apparently, and I got him last year, or late the year before, and when they announced that $1 million race, you know, it was a very hard race to get into with their points and that kind of thing, and he fitted the category, and I set him for it, and I actually had to turn him out for a little bit so he wouldn't get too high in the rankings, and got him going. Then they cancelled it, and it was a bit of disappointment, but he won the $100,000 regional final, and since then he's just got better and better, and you know, had a really good year, you know, at the really top level, third in the Miracle Mile and fourth in the Hunter Cup, so, and won some really good other races too, so I think next year he'll have a, you know, great year, hopefully.
Yeah, well, to be fair, it's all ahead of him.
Yeah, he's having a nice break now, and then I'll just get him ready for the Victoria Cup in October, and then I think the Inter-Dominions would really suit him, you know, the 4 races close together. He seems to race well like that, so, you know, that's probably the first big aim.
What about coming back and having a crack at this Cup as a trainer? Is that something that appeals?
Definitely, yeah. We've got 4 Grand Circuit horses this year, I think, and with Line Up and Perfect Stride and Boots Electric and Wolf, obviously, and just going to be definitely want to bring one, and you know, just have to they'll all get set for the Victoria Cup in October, which will be a good, you know, lead up for them. It'll be similar to a New Zealand Spring. So after that, we'll pick one out, and you know, the manners are going to be the key with the standing start, obviously. So definitely hope to bring one anyway.
Awesome to have you and Sonia back. Congratulations on the way things have been going, and yeah, hopefully we'll see you come November, eh?
Hopefully, Greg. Thank you.
It's always good to catch up with Anthony Butt, Michael Guerin, one of our great drivers, of course, and now doing a wonderful job training. Just had a look at the premierships, actually, in the state there. 36 winners from about 101 starters, so right up there in terms of that. And the Metro wins, I think there are about 13 or 14 wins from only 40 starters too. Interesting, he wants to come back to the New Zealand Cup, a race he's won 3 times. Potentially Perfect Stride might be the right horse for that, and I'm sure he'd love a trip back to Canterbury.
He's an amazing talent, Anthony. When you consider what he did as a driver over a really long period of time, dating back to premiership, probably the mid-80s, and now he's become a top trainer. He's very good attention to detail, good communicator, very good brain for planning where to put horses, Greg. I'm not surprised he's become a top trainer, but I just think he needed the right horse flesh to do it. He's now in Victoria, as is his brother Tim. So 2 of the prodigal sons of New Zealand harness racing are in Victoria. I'd love to see him come back for the New Zealand Cup Carnival. Probably no name in New Zealand racing is more synonymous with the New Zealand Cup of those still racing than the Butt brothers.
No, certainly not. And of course, 9-time Dominion winner is Anthony in the sulky as well. Let's go across the Tasman with Garrards and capture a couple of their feature races over the weekend. Michael Ignatius in front here, always very, very hard to beat. He's won basically half his starts and over $500,000.
Yeah, he's a good horse, Ignatius. He lacks the speed of a really, really good horse. So when he gets to Miracle Miles, he's going to be caught napping. But yeah, in these regular Saturday night free-for-alls like this was at Menangle, he's always going to be a chance. But yeah, tough racing for a horse like him because King of Swing is coming back this week, and then King of Swing and all these good horses come back, and horses like Mark Shardham prepare for the Blacks of Fake up in Queensland, Greg, so there's going to be no easy kills. Here's Spellbound, a horse we know well. The Duns trained for the majority of her career, now trained by Michael Purdon, and absolutely, sorry, my apologies, Nathan Purdon. Michael's got a horse racing at Addington this week instead. Nathan Purdon trains, he's doing a good job in Victoria, Greg. Just the horse Nathan needed. Needed a signature horse to turn up and say, hey, I'm here in Victoria, got some room in the barn, want to come join in? Some talk that Spellbound could be the best mare in Australia, Greg. awfully hard to get your head around that.
Yeah, slightly premature maybe, but goes round in a Group 3 this week. Inside second row draw won't make it easy. Pat's Beach Storm resumes, the New South Wales Derby winner as well, in a Vic bred heat. So, and I think Ultra Orlando was in that race previously too, running third and was a little bit unlucky. So, yeah, there's plenty happening across the Tasman. Let's have a look at the map and see where you can go harness racing this week here and this great nation of ours. Cambridge, we mentioned that Thursday night, good program there, 5:06, the first of 10. Alexandra Park, 5:48 the start time there. They've actually got 10 races as well. Addington Raceway, massive night, heaps of money, plenty of reasons. There's ladies' night there as well, 11 races, 5:13 to kick things off with those Group 1 features, the Breeders' Oaks and of course the Sires Stakes Series final for the 2-year-olds, 150,000 for both of those. Invercargill race on Saturday, 10 races there, 12:10 the start time, and Rangiora, they do race on Sunday with a 10 race program there from lunchtime. Door contracting, best bets of the week, Michael Guerin, the run has now made it into double digits for you.
Yeah, last week's didn't pay much, Greg, but I didn't know how much it was paying when I did get involved. I really like KAN GO this week at Cambridge. I think you'll get about $1.70. I think he'll be in front at some stage, and I think even if he's not, he can still win. So really strong on KAN GO this week in the feature coming out of Cambridge as he heads towards the Jewels.
I'm leaving it to the last race. Spoke to John Dunn after the last race last week, won by Mighty Louie. He was on Sounds of Cash, he said. Pretty smart horse this. It can win quite a few races. Barrier 1, yeah, maybe up in grade a wee bit, but I reckon it'll take all sorts of beating in that. Just confirmation, Michael, of our Jules special preview show, which we will record on the Monday of Jules Week. It plays out first play 10 p.m. that night, Monday night. Of course, Trackside are having their own preview show as well, which will be live. I think it's from 10 o'clock on Wednesday morning, and it'll play out several times too. So check your guides for times there. Ours will be on YouTube. Obviously on the Tab site and HRNZ and New Zealand Bloodstock Standardbred. So can't wait to get into the preview of those 9 Group 1 races, including Blair Orange, John Dunn and Natalie Rasmussen, all with their thoughts around their charges. So we're not too far away from that big day, Michael.
It's going to be massive, Gregory. Lots of ways to get involved, of course. Make sure you've got your tickets because it can get a bit chilly that time of the year. To everybody who has a horse on the cusp, I hope your horse makes it safely through the weekend and that you get your chance to go to the Group 1 if that's where you want to head. Check out hrnz.co.nz on the Monday morning to see who's made the cut. Then, of course, the connections Greg have till next Friday to decide whether they choose to accept. And then, Gregory, it's game on.
Yeah, it certainly is. That's been your box seat for another week. Michael and I will see you in 7 days' time.